She has won Olympic gold twice. She is the undisputed champion in 3 separate weight classes, something no boxer, male or female, had ever done before her. And she co-owns the gym she trains in, has invested over $1.5 million across real estate, fitness ventures, and her own apparel brand. You have almost certainly never heard her name. Male boxing legends get documentaries, biopics, and 9-figure paydays for a single fight. The greatest female boxer in history spent the first 8 years of her career earning $50,000 a fight, while quietly building a financial blueprint that almost nobody outside the sport has noticed. Today, we're telling the story of the black female boxer who owns gyms, land, and an entire brand, and you've never heard of her. Claressa Shields, the GWOAT, greatest woman of all time, and one of the most underrated financial blueprints in all of combat sports. Stay locked in until the end, because we're breaking down the contract that made Claressa Shields the highest-paid female boxer in history. $8 million guaranteed, with a $3 million signing bonus alone. And the most important part of that deal isn't even the number. It's what she did with every single dollar she earned before it. We're going chapter by chapter, from a childhood in one of America's most economically challenged cities to a financial blueprint that very few athletes in any sport have managed to build this early and this deliberately. Chapter 1. The origin, Flint, a father's warning, and a fighter who refused to wait. Claressa Maria Shields was born on March 17, 1995, in Flint, Michigan, a city that has spent decades fighting its own battle against economic collapse, and later, a contaminated water supply that made international headlines. Her father, Clarence "Bo" Shields, had boxed as an amateur himself before personal struggles pulled him away from the sport. And when his daughter wanted to start training at 11 years old, he initially told her no. Boxing, he told her, wasn't for girls. She didn't accept that answer. She started training anyway, with her mother Marcella Adams eventually becoming the steady support system that let her keep going. At the 2012 London Olympics, at just 17 years old, Claressa Shields became the first American woman in history to win an Olympic gold medal in boxing, defeating the heavily favored Russian fighter Nadezhda Torlapova in the final. She defended that title 4 years later at the Rio Olympics, becoming the first American boxer, male or female, to win back-to-back Olympic gold medals in the sport. When she turned professional in 2016, her debut purse was $50,000, a number that, for a fighter with that level of accomplishment, reflects exactly how underpaid women's boxing was at the time, regardless of pedigree. The financial concept Shields began executing almost immediately is called patient brand compounding, building public recognition and credibility methodically through titles and Olympic accomplishments, fight after fight, while deliberately avoiding the lifestyle inflation that derails so many young athletes the moment money starts arriving. She kept living modestly. She kept training in Flint. And instead of spending fight purses as they came in, she began routing a portion of every payday into long-term assets, real estate, fitness infrastructure, and eventually her own promotional company. By the early 2020s, Shields had become a multiple-division world champion with endorsement partnerships spanning Nike, Everlast, Audi, Puma, Gatorade, Celsius, and Bose. Inside boxing, she was already being called the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time. Outside boxing, in mainstream sports media, she remained almost invisible. That gap between elite accomplishment and public recognition is exactly the gap this story is about, and exactly the gap she used to her advantage. Chapter 2. The Empire, gyms, land, and a brand built before the big payday arrived. If you've ever walked into a community gym that doubled as more than just a place to work out, a place that also ran youth programs, after-school activities, mentorship, you've experienced the exact model Claressa Shields built back home in Flint. She co-owns a gym and training facility in her hometown that functions simultaneously as a business and a community center, offering boxing classes and youth programs to a city that has had very few institutions consistently investing back into it. Shields founded T-Rex Promotions, her own promotional company built specifically to create opportunities for female fighters who face the same uphill financial battle she once did. She has invested an estimated $1.5 million across real estate holdings in Michigan, gym ownership, and fitness programming, alongside an in-development apparel line built around her GWOAT identity. She also produced and starred in The Fire Inside, a film about her own life that earned over $8 million at the box office, adding a media production credit to a resume that already included Olympic gold medals and world titles in 3 weight classes. Then, in November 2025, the moment her entire financial strategy had been quietly building toward arrived. An $8 million multi-fight contract with Salita Promotions and Win Records, including a $3 million signing bonus, making her, at last, the highest-paid female boxer in history. The financial concept underneath this entire arc is called undercapitalized market arbitrage, recognizing that you are operating in a market segment that is structurally underpaid relative to your actual accomplishments and using every dollar you can extract from that market to acquire durable, appreciating assets rather than depreciating lifestyle purchases. Shields could not control how slowly the pay gap in women's boxing closed. What she could control was what she did with every dollar she earned while it was closing. By the time the industry finally caught up and offered her a contract that reflected her true value, she wasn't starting her investment portfolio from zero. She already owned a gym. She already held real estate. She already had a promotional company and a media production credit. The $8 million deal didn't start her empire. It accelerated one that was already years into construction. The reward for over a decade of disciplined, patient compounding, the highest-paying contract any female boxer has ever signed, a gym in Flint that exists because she chose to reinvest in the city that raised her rather than leave it behind entirely. A promotional company actively creating the exact opportunities for other women that she had to fight for herself. And a title that, regardless of what mainstream sports media chooses to cover, is simply true. Across 3 weight classes, undefeated, undisputed, Claressa Shields is the greatest woman to ever box. She built the financial infrastructure to match that title years before the rest of the world finally agreed to pay her like it. From an 11-year-old in Flint, Michigan, told that boxing wasn't for girls, to the highest-paid female boxer in history, holding undisputed titles across 3 weight classes. Claressa Shields didn't wait for the sport to value her properly before she started building her own value on the side: gyms, real estate, a promotional company, a brand. So tell us in the comments, what's the most impressive part of this story? That she co-owns a gym in the same city that raised her? That she built a real estate and fitness portfolio while earning $50,000 a fight? Or that almost nobody outside boxing has ever heard her name? Drop it below right now.